Welcome to the Fit Girl Magic podcast. If you are ready to find your inner magic, develop great habits, and a rock steady mindset to feel confident, comfortable, and fit in your body, you are in the right place. I am Kim Barnes Jefferson, and I'll be giving you weekly doses of health, fitness, and life tips sprinkled with humor and real talk. If you're ready to be consistent without the stress of perfection, magic makers, it's time to slip into your favorite pair of PJs, grab some coffee, kick back, and listen to today's show. All right, Magic Makers, today's episode is going to be a little bit of a doozy. This one's going to hit you right in the mind. It's really going to hit you in the brain. It's really going to help make you ask questions of yourself. Because when I first discovered her, Ryan, I asked myself a lot of questions. I continue to listen to her content on the socials, and I still ask myself a lot of questions. So if you're that woman who is working out 6 days a week, you're hitting your protein goals, you know more about nutrition and working out than most people, and you kind of feel like, God, like, why am I working out harder and harder, and I am not getting the results that I want? And the one thing that caught my attention in the conversation I had with Ryan was her belief that many women, including myself, we aren't struggling with the lack of information. We're struggling with the identity that we keep carrying around us that no longer serves us, right? Most of us have spent our lives trying to solve a problem with more action, more effort, another plan, which seems to be exactly what we need in the moment. But then we wonder why nothing seems to change, no matter the plan, the effort, or the program. So in today's conversation, Ryan and I dig into motivation, willpower, mindset, and what happens when the story you keep telling yourself is what's actually keeping you stuck. Yeah, that's a hard one to hear. So let's get into it. And as always, I'd love to hear your feedback. Did this episode make you do think out loud, screenshot this and leave me a comment on the socials. Enjoy the show. Hey, Magic Makers, a great iTunes review of the week. I want to thank Ms. Robin for leaving this awesome review. She says, great information, humorous host. If you are over 40, you need this information. Listening here can save you time and frustration with regards to your health. Kim is a great host with valuable information and humor infused. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much, Robin Nutritionist. Yeah, that is my hope and goal of this show, is that I'm able to give great information to you either via a solo episode or by the multitude of amazing guests that I've been able to have on the show. I want women over 40 to be like, you know what? Sometimes life, you just need to take a step back and laugh at yourself, laugh at just what life throws our way from time to time. Because if we can't laugh at ourselves, who can we laugh at? So thank you so much, Robin, for that amazing review. And if you're listening here, do me a favor. Reviews are what fuels my ratings with iTunes. It also helps me to better understand the information that I'm bringing to you. So I would love and appreciate if you gave a review, and I will read it here on the show. And if you don't know how to do it, do me a favor, reach out to me. I am here to help you facilitate that. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the show. All right, Magic Makers, I'm doing something a little bit different, right? I got 350 episodes under the belt. So, you got to change things up, mix things up. So I got Ryan here. I found her on the TikTok. And if you're not on the TikTok, you are not too old to be on the TikTok. Let me tell you, I love it. It gives me life. It gives me life over there.
Amen.
So I found her over there, and she just some of the stuff she talks about, I was just like, oh my God, is she in my soul? What is going on? And so I'm going to ask her some quick hit questions before we dive into the episode today. So Ryan, go with your gut. Don't overthink. Hustle or alignment?
Alignment.
More noise or less effort?
Less effort.
Busy or effective?
Neither.
Structure or freedom?
Both.
And success should feel like
fun.
Oh, yeah. And women stay stuck because they keep
buying their own bullshit. Can I say that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Salty talk is appreciated and encouraged.
It's like I asked all the good questions and that I was like, oh, I could like feel it coming out. Like,
Yeah. I mean, and in my mind, I'm like, is bullshit really like offensive? Because I feel like that's exactly what it is.
Amen.
There's no other word that like can really
Yeah.
get the essence of it.
Yeah.
Hey, Magic Makers, before we hop into today's episode, I'm ridiculously excited about something that I'm running. It's called Feed Up Summer. And it was born out of a realization that I had years ago. For the longest time, and probably just like you thought, if I only had more discipline, a better plan, a stricter routine, right? If I could only just get my shit together, then everything would finally click, right? And I get it. Summer happens and then, vacations, work deadlines, family stuff, all the things pop up. And when you finally realize that the problem wasn't discipline, you start thinking about what can I do differently? So I got it for you. Feed Up Summer. It's a free 26-day experiment for women over 40 who are tired of trying to get it right. You're trying to be perfect, tired of starting over again on Monday. And so you are going to get 26 experiments. You take what you need, you leave the rest, and they're designed to help you to stop making health feel so damn complicated. So do me a favor. We kick off on June 19th. But if you're hearing this after, it's okay. You can still hop in because guess what? There's no track. You decide what experiment you take and you decide what experiment you leave. So hop over to the link in my show notes and have a peek. I hope to see you on the inside. So let's rewind, because if people are listening here, they're probably like, okay, this comes out a little spicy and that's okay. But like, what, we're listening, you're like, what exactly what are we trying to achieve with women? Like we see these women and they're always trying to climb. We're always trying to go for the next rung or 3 rungs above and always feeling like I'm not just there.
Yeah. I think it's a misunderstanding of our job as creators, right? So the fact that we think there should be a completion is actually the problem, Kim, right? Like, let's use you guys, diet and weight loss is our conversation here, or lack of diet, right? But we think that there's a magic number on the scale that's going to solve all of our problems. And I think where we get stuck and what's wreaking havoc for so many women is we are looking for completion. And that's not the way the world works. Not in a bad way, right? But that as soon as you hit the one goal, whether it is a money goal or a job title goal or a weight loss goal or a size goal, you're going to be met with a whole new set of contrasting experiences and you're going to have new desires. We're supposed to expand. But we are looking for completion. We are looking for we are looking for a destination that doesn't exist. And that's where the dissatisfaction is coming from, is misunderstanding that you're never going to get it done. That's not the point. The point is the journey. And that's annoying. God, that's annoying. But it's so damn true.
You hit the nail on the head. Like, I think that we feel like life is a test, right? So it's like, I'm going to answer these 100 questions.
Or a battle.
Right. And I'm going to move on to the next thing. And for so many people, sometimes when I see the finish line, I invent reasons to push the finish line.
Of course. And there's nothing wrong with that if you're doing it in alignment, right? That was the first question you asked me. I move the finish line all the time, but it's an aligned move. I'm not moving the finish line to prove something. I'm not moving the finish line because I might maybe be worthy when I get there. I'm moving the finish line because I can easily see that I'm going to win and I like to stretch myself. I'm going to give you an example. I work with a lot of clients who are real estate agents. And I have a woman, it is April 2nd at the time we're recording this. I don't know when your people will hear this, but it's April 2nd. Her goal for the year was 12 real estate transactions. She is current state at 7 closed and knows the next 3 are coming, right? So we're at 12 pretty much. Here we are on April 1st. And she asked me that. She said, Ryan, do I move the goal, right? Like, what do I do? And I said, well, again, what's the motivation in moving the goal? And she was like, it just gives me something to stretch for. I'm like, that's a beautiful reason to move the goal.
Right.
If you were moving the goal out of pressure, out of fear, out of need, out of needing validation in that number, I would tell you to leave your number at 12 and, finish the year at 150%. But if you're telling me, Ryan, I want to push the number from 12 to 16 because I've never done that before and that feels really cool and holy bananas, that might be fun. And even if you landed at 14, you would still feel like $1 million, then move the finish line. But if you're moving the finish line because, oh, well, come to find out 12 wasn't enough, so maybe I need 16.
Well, the other thing as you're talking, I was thinking about, okay, I see people like, okay, set the goal, but sometimes that goal might be a little like, oh shit, right?
Yeah.
And so you might be like, I'm maybe at 5 right now. And then you start to freak out because you think that like, I should be landing one a month, right? And not letting like time, it's like anything, like you're at month 4. So you don't know what's going to happen in the next 10 months. Like, they all could fall in your lap on December 15th.
Absolutely. Yeah, always.
And so I think a lot of it is fear, right? That it's like, I have to control the world and contort it to my natural box. Like, I'm going to have one transaction every single month and it's going to be nice and easy. And
yeah, we do it. I notice my brain do it all the time. Like we look for patterns like, oh, okay, if I want to lose 20 pounds, if I could lose 10 pounds a week or 2 pounds a week, it'll take me 10 weeks to get there, right? And then we put it in the box and then exactly that. We start measuring against this goal. Well, I'm 3 weeks in, I haven't lost 6 pounds, I'm behind, right? Or worst case, we're ahead and then we're like, I can eat this and I can do this and I can do this because I'm ahead, and we play with it instead of, and this is actually, I say this often, I talk about my body of work, Kim, in terms of mind game and energy game. Energy game being this more aligned conversation, right? Mind game being more traditional. And as soon as we get into the when and the how, we are in the mind game. When am I going to hit that number on the scale? How am I going to do it, right? Or when am I going to hit that number in the bank? And how am I going to do it? We are in the mind game. Instead of what I really desire is this. I want to have this relationship with my body. I want to be able to move like this. I want to be able to walk like this. I want to be able to look like this. I want to feel like this, and I don't care how long it's going to take me. I say that all the time on my show. I'm building a $10 million business doing only things that I love. Who gives a shit if it takes me 10 years?
Right. And, like 2 things that popped into my brain. I don't know if you remember, this is maybe almost 10 years ago, a woman by the name of Danielle Laporte, and she talked about the desire map.
Okay. I know of Danielle Laporte. So like, that's how her desire map.
Yeah. So that's what put her on the map.
Okay.
And so she wrote that like her and her then husband would sit down on New Year's Eve, and instead of writing down goals, like we're going to do this, we're going to do this, they wrote down how we desire, like what do we desire to feel over the next 12 months. And so like that was kind of like, at the time revolutionary, because back then we set goals for like I'm going to have 12 real estate transactions. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to, whatever, achieve this or whatever. And so it was the first time that like people sat down and were like, what was the feelings? Like, what are the feelings that I'm chasing versus these like hard, fast, like goals.
Yep.
And I like how you said, like, we have to suspend expectations.
Yes, because that feels energetically sound.
Because you said, like, I want to build a $10 million business. You didn't say, I want to build a $10 million business by 2030. It was like, at some point, $10 million is going to come my way.
Right. And $10 million in one calendar month, in one calendar year, doing only things I love. Very specific.
Right. But it's like, you're not like, we're both in the entrepreneurial space.
Yeah, of course.
So like one of the big hallmarks of the entrepreneurial space is $10,000 a month, right? So it's like, people always promise entrepreneurs, I can get you $10,000 in 1 month. And so for me as an entrepreneur, that always like gave me such panic energy.
It does.
It gave me such panic energy. And anytime anyone would ever say that to me, I was like,
yeah.
It just was such a repellent. But I like your refreshing way. You're like, at some point, I'm going to look at day 30 or day 31, depending on the month, and there's going to be multiple zeros behind the number 10. And I'm okay that it might be 20 years from now.
Right. And most people can't hold on to that enough.
No.
Like it's the suspended gratification. And I also want to be clear, I am a team ease all day long. So I'm not suspended gratification as in you torture yourself until you get what you want and you do no fun things until you get what you want. Like, I don't mean suspend gratification in that way. I mean, suspend the need for a result, suspend the need for something outside of you to change for you to want to pursue it. Right. And again, it goes back to that first question you asked me of like, we're looking for the completion. And so we have to put a date on the calendar to feel the completion. And what winds up happening actually is when you let go of the date and you stop obsessing over the how and the when is actually when it happens faster. It's completely counterintuitive to everything we've been taught, right? Like SMART goals by definition, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic and timely, like bleh, it's awful. Everything about that's gross, right? But that's what we were taught. If I don't put a time frame on it, how will I know? And it's like, no, I have a time frame on it. I'm going to make $10 million in one calendar year in 12 months. I just don't know which 12 months. It might not even be a January to January, right? Like that's something we do too, where we're like, what does it be January 1 to 12/31? I'm like, well, if I started today and it's April 2nd and I've, make $1 million, I cross it over in February of next year, it's still,
Right.
So letting go of that attachment and that timeline and that need to make something happen actually is what calls it on a little bit faster. And especially when it comes to our diet and our fitness, right? Like we're in such a hurry to not be where we are that we ultimately wind up keeping ourselves on that hamster wheel.
Right. And I was laughing because do you follow tennis at all?
No.
So Serena Williams, and clearly I know you know who. So Serena Williams. So before Serena, it was the thing to have a Grand Slam where you would hit all the big tournaments and you would do it in one calendar year.
Okay.
Well, Serena was like, she missed one of them, but she did it within so if say it was April, she didn't go April through April. She went like April through July, and they're like now it's called the Serena Slam. And so it's like she missed one, but the next year when it came around, she won it. And so they're like, well, screw it. We're going to call it the Serena Slam because no one's ever done that before.
Exactly.
So I like the fact that I think for so long, and especially at our age, like we followed the rules for so long.
Right.
Right. We got the good grades. We, you either got married or you didn't get married. You had the 2.2 kids and the dog and the cat and the white picket fence. But at some point, I think many of us are now starting to lift our head and be like, what is what do I want?
Yeah.
Right. And does it have to look this cookie cutter?
Right.
Because I was, I haven't had a traditional job in like 20 years.
Okay.
So I don't really, if someone said, Kim, could you go back to a 9 to 5? I don't think I could.
Right.
I don't think I could do it. And so I have friends who their kids are now graduating college, and one of their kids is like, I don't really know what I want to do when I grow up. And I was like, that was me.
Yeah.
And they're like, you have to get a job. I was like, who cares what the job is? I'm like, if you're sitting at home, absolutely push them out. But I'm like, who cares what the job is if they're making money while they figure out their life? Like they're going to be working for 40 plus years. Like what's another 2 years being a waiter?
Right. Hey, you want me to answer that question? I was like, I have a lot of thoughts.
Right? Yeah. But it's
what will people think? I will look like a failure as a parent if my 20-year-old who I paid to put through private school is waiting tables. I will have wasted my money. What will they think?
Right.
That's why they're not allowed.
Yeah. And it's like, and I do remember when I was a waitress, when I was 22, and my mom's like, so when are you going to get a real job? And I was like, have I called you for money? I don't live with you. I have never called you for money. Like, it is what it is, right? And I just feel like we've all been so put in these little boxes that, one of the things that I found so refreshing with you is that, you talk about a lot about things not being a discipline problem, but an energy problem. And so
100%.
many, especially my women who for weight loss, I don't have the discipline, the holidays are coming up and, I just got to I'm going to eat. My family comes over, I'm going to eat or a vacation or whatever. And it's like, you choose that path.
Yeah. You do choose it. You do choose it. But I think people have to understand why they choose it to choose differently.
Okay. I like that.
Like people are like, okay, I am choosing to eat, but why do I choose to eat, Kim? I don't actually want to eat. I know that I feel bad when I eat, but if I tell myself not to eat, then I beat myself up when I do eat. So I just go ahead and tell you that, fuck it, I'm going to eat. Sorry, I'm going to eat. And this is the way we're going to do this, right? So I think what most people have to understand is what's causing the drive to eat. And when we understand what is true cause, then we can change, right? The first step of the process is always awareness.
Right.
In my body of work, I always starts with its identity. Who do you believe yourself to be? Do you believe yourself to be the creator of your reality, or do you believe yourself to be the victim of the circumstances? So we start there. If I'm the creator of my reality, I can be a little bit more intentional, right? If I'm just a victim, it's not my fault, Kim. If I don't eat, my mom gives me a hard time. And my husband, I tell him that I don't want the snacks in the house, but him and the kids want to eat it. He doesn't understand why I can't just keep my, and I don't have any self-control. And I have it become an identity.
Yeah.
Right. That's what happens. I'm somebody who has no self-control. I'm somebody who struggles with weight. I'm somebody who has no idea how to take care of their body. I'm somebody who constantly has to think about what I put in my mouth. I'm somebody who has no self-control. And you've said it so many times that you think that's who you are.
Right.
And that's the identity that you're operating from. I always say identity drives behavior. Behavior creates results. So if you have an identity of somebody who has no discipline and no self-control and can't keep the cookies out of your mouth, what behavior do you think you will have at the holidays?
Right.
You'll eat the cookies.
And it's funny because it's like everything you just said, I can trace it back to conversations I've had with the client.
Yeah.
I don't sleep.
Yep.
And for those people who don't sleep, I get it. There are actual things that keep you from sleeping. But if you've said, I've been a bad sleeper my whole life.
My mom is like, I haven't had a good night's sleep in 10 years. I'm like, you ain't getting one tonight either, lady.
Right. And it's like, if you tell me I haven't had a good night's sleep and you have a toddler, I'm like, yeah, you ain't getting a good night's sleep, sister.
Right.
But if
and I don't buy that bullshit either. When I was at that was the worst thing that people told, oh, you're never going to sleep again. I'm like, I slept just fine through 2 babies and toddlers. My kids are great sleepers. You know why? Because I didn't pretend that they weren't.
Yeah.
My kids are still great sleepers to this day.
And I have a friend who has 2 kids, and there's a big gap between the baby 1, baby 2. So she's like, baby 1 doesn't sleep because I kept the house silent. Yeah. Because I was like, oh my God, I don't want a kid that's not sleeping. Yeah. So she's like, I kept the house silent. I would tiptoe around.
Yeah. Yes.
And then baby 2, she's like, my kid was like a 3-year-old. There's no way I'm keeping a 3-year-old quiet. So my older kid needs complete silence in order to sleep, where my 3-year-old can sleep through like a hurricane.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like, I did it to myself. Like 100%. I screwed myself.
Yeah. Yeah, because again, identity dictates behavior. Like you said, if you think you're somebody who doesn't sleep, you think somebody who has chronic pain, you think somebody who's just always been big, you think you're somebody who's just always struggled with your weight, you will make choices and you will behave from that identity. So until you consciously change the identity, you will be fighting discipline and willpower. When you change the identity, that's when you're working with the energy.
So now when we talk about identity, how... I'm gonna use the word easy, but I know easy is not the right word. But
that's okay.
How easy it is for me to say, okay, Ryan, I'm hearing everything you're saying. You're right.
Yeah.
I am that person who says, honey, stop bringing the snacks in, or I'm a bad sleeper, or I'm just someone who's just destined to be a big person. How do I start to kind of chip away at this kind of for many of my women, we're hardwired. We've been doing these behaviors for decades, and it's just now become like an appendage at this point.
Yeah, totally. So the same way you were programmed is the same way that you reprogram, right? You were programmed through repetition. You were programmed through the messages that you saw, the things that you saw before we hit record. You were they were reading Shape magazine, right? We were taught, who walked runways and things like that. We were shaped by observation. What we saw, what we heard, we were shaped by that. So if I would like to be somebody else, I have to start consciously chasing. So constantly choosing, right? Choosing to focus. Ooh, the words just disappeared from my mouth. That happens every now and again. Sometimes it blip, blip. But we have a choice, right? And we have to start remembering that. So in the beginning, I describe it's like driving. When you learn to drive a car, it is uncomfortable. Right? Because you have to think about all of the things you need to do. Where's the gas? Where is the brake? mirrors, this mirror, that mirror, check my blind spot. Like it's awkward. You're watched a new driver, right? And now you can drive across town, answer 4 text messages, not that any of you would do that, but and get to where you want to go and not tell me how, like what color car just drove past you. You don't know because you're so unsubconscious. So the same way you were programmed the first time is the same way that we reprogram. We just have to consciously make that choice, right? You have always been creating your reality. It just wasn't conscious. Now that you know you have a choice, you have to choose. So I start personally, where do we start? With regulating your nervous system. If you would like to change your wiring, like you said, we're hardwired, right? How do I change my wiring? I regulate my nervous system, right? We are all energetic beings. That's why we have EEGs and EKGs, right? So you look at it through science or whether you look at it through spirituality, one way or the other, everybody agrees that we are all made of the same stuff, right? And we all emit a frequency. We all emit energy, right? So when I start thinking about if I want to make a change, I have to be regulated enough. You can't make a change from a state of dysregulation. So to me, I always say with step 1 is start with nervous system regulation. And then the question is what do I start with? I started with walking outside without my headphones.
Yeah.
My first 10, 15, 20 minutes of every walk I take has no headphones. It's just me and the dogs. If you're in a city, it's probably different. If you can find green space, get there because nature is the most natural rhythm, right? That's why they tell people to go touch grass when they're all angry and stuff. It's got like naturally grounding. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking to ground. We're looking to get out of the head and out of the drama and out of the overthinking mind back into the body. That is step 1. It is not, like you said, it is not a fast process, but it is a compounding process, much like weight loss, right? Mm-hmm. In the beginning, it will feel like nothing is happening and most people quit. With nervous system regulation, you will wake up one morning and you're like, oh, I didn't lose my shit on my kids. Oh, I didn't emotionally eat those cookies. Oh, it's a very gradual but compound thing until you wake up one day a completely different person.
And everything you said, I love. And the biggest thing, and I'm sure you see this with your clients, is that they're like, that's it.
Yep.
That's it. Go for a walk without headphones. Like
until you can hear yourself think, that is it, right? It's step 1. Why am I going to give you step 2? I got my piece of paper
here to write down the whole checklist. Like that's it. Right. All I'm going to write on this piece of paper is a walk.
Yeah. Regulate your nervous system. Stop responding to everything like it's fucking on fire.
And, I think that's another piece is that from the young age, it was a litany of things. Like if I wanted to lose weight, carbs and fats and do this and do that and one woman who came to me and she had a lot of life going on. And I was like, why don't you just set a bedtime and we'll talk after you set your bedtime. She looked at me like I told her to go fuck herself. And
right. Yeah.
But
like you were insulting her intelligence?
Right. Like she was like, well, what else? I was like, I don't know. What do you like to do before you go to bed? Like a bath or like read?
Yeah.
And she's like, what else? I was like, maybe take some magnesium. And she was waiting for me to be like, here's your list, do this or die. And I feel like that type A plus people are like, well, I can do that in my sleep. Like, what else you got? I want to show you, I want to prove to you that I can do this list plus all the other stuff in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that proving energy that's why you're on the hamster wheel to begin with.
Right. And so that person who's now like, but I guess, all right, let me rewind. I guess the person who is now listening to this and you've made it thus far into the episode, there is a voice.
Yeah.
There is a voice that is like, is this it? Is there more? Like, can we sit down, please?
Yeah. And yes, I mean, there is more. It is changing this work, as far as I'm concerned. It is building an entirely new belief system. It is exactly the same when you go to change your diet and exercise, right? You have to change your belief system. But just like you told your clients that if you're not getting 8 hours of sleep a night, there is no reason for us to be messing around with your carb intake. It doesn't matter, right? So is there more? Of course there's more. But until you do this one, I'm not giving you step 2 so you can skip it. In
Right.
regards to this, since we're recording, like we regulate our nervous system first, and then we start choosing again. Like that is identity work is a day-to-day, moment-to-moment choice. Who am I choosing to be today? Am I choosing to be the woman who has no self-control, or am I choosing to be the woman who is naturally healthy, naturally fuels her body well, naturally takes great care of herself, and trusts herself to make food choices however she needs them to be? Because a woman who naturally views herself as healthy and naturally gets up and moves her body and fuels her body well, she doesn't have to have self-control and discipline because it's just who the fuck she is. It's why runners just get up and run and nobody has to force them to do it. It's who they are. It's why athletes get up and train and nobody has to force them to do it. It's who they are. You have to become somebody that has the habits and the behaviors and makes the choices, operates from the identity of a healthy person.
It's funny. How like you realize like you've done so much work on yourself, but you don't realize how much work you've done on yourself. And
Right.
the thing you said was one of kind of like for readers, oh my God, listeners, I'm going to take an aside. So I had a very, very fixed mindset, probably like 15 years ago. I had a very, very fixed mindset, very, very fixed mindset. And I remember I had my first mindset coach had me read the book E Cubed. Have you ever read that book?
Yeah.
So she had me read the book E Cubed. And I was literally like, I roll, like, whatever, I'll do it. I'll be nice, because she was a lovely lady. I really like her. Anyway, so she had me read the book E Cubed. So in one of the first, it's a energetic experiment for you to kind of just expand your mind.
Yep.
And if you haven't read it and you have a very fixed mindset like I did, read it, and it just literally gives you the first toe dip into like expanding your mind. So anyway, so one of the first things was look for purple flowers.
Yeah.
It was February in Boston. I'm like, lady, am I going to see some purple flowers in February in Boston? And she's like, you have to suspend belief. Just be like, purple flowers. Purple flowers are out there. I'm like, all right. So I'm like folding laundry. This is probably like 2 or 3 weeks later. Folding laundry, watching TV. What shows up on the frickin' TV?
Purple
flower. And so I was like, okay. And it was like, you get to choose how it's going to show up, right? In my mind, like many of us, we think weight loss is 2 pounds a week. I have to, beat myself into the ground, and I have to like eat, measure my almonds in order for me to get weight loss. But I wasn't thinking about these purple flowers. It literally it floated out of my mind. And here I am folding my laundry. And then I was like, holy shit, these are the purple flowers. Because I chose how I thought they were supposed to show up. Yeah. And then I just let it go. But I just let the world show me what it's supposed to look like. And that's what's kind of like the first kind of chip in my like, okay, things can be different. Yeah. I can't always control how it's going to show up.
You can never control how it's going to show up.
But, I'm a type A. I control the world. Like, I'm the driver.
But you don't act like the driver. I'm the driver who can't possibly control what she puts in her mouth.
Right.
I'm the driver who can't possibly say no to that person because I'll disappoint them. I'm the driver who can't possibly it's just genetics. What you want me to do? I'm just big boned.
Right. And so when you
you the driver or are you not?
Right. And so when you said that, it was kind of like, that was kind of like the first crack of like, of looking at these purple damn flowers on TV. Yeah. And it's like, I get to choose how this shows up. Like, it doesn't have to be the way I think. I can put my hand into the universe bowl and pick out a different outcome.
Yep. Every time. How fast does it happen now? Like, will you see purple flowers today?
I probably will see purple flowers now. Or it's funny because I notice things that like, I think about like, for me, it happens a lot with people. Like, I will think about like, oh, I haven't seen so-and-so in a really long time. And then within a week, that person shows up. So it's very weird how I go, did I like manifest that? Or like, were they already coming here? Like, it always blows my mind. Like, this guy, Brian, I was thinking about him. I'm like, you know what? I'm leaving in a couple weeks and I haven't seen Brian in a while. Like, I just want to say goodbye to Brian. Showed up on Tuesday. And I was like, all right, there he goes.
Every time. No, it'll happen. Like, I'll see purple flowers today. I'll take a picture and send them to you. It happens pretty much real time for me these days in those little tiny things. It's so fun. The other day, I was talking about Airstreams, like Airstream RVs. And I was talking about them and I was looking at them on Pinterest and all this other stuff. And I have this visual of I want to own an Airstream and all the things. And I was thinking about it. And so when I leave my house and I get in the car, which I don't do a lot these days, but when I do, I think of like, okay, God, show me the things, right? It's the reticular activating system. You think of red Toyota trucks, you see red Toyota trucks everywhere. So I was like, God, show me the Airstreams. Today, I want to see the Airstreams. So Kim, there and back to wherever I was going, no Airstreams. And again, same thing, don't care, no dog in this fight. I start reading a new book. And what do you know? The main character of my book runs a food truck out of an Airstream.
Yeah. Now, you thinking full-time Airstream or just like from time to time?
Current state, time to time. Long-term, full-time. We actually want to own RV parks. We actually want to, this is such a fun dream. We want to own RV parks and like really infuse like consciousness into like conscious families, like where there is like, it's community-based, it's outside, there's like group yoga classes and there's fun, like it's a destination. It's got like RV resort vibes, in like more just because that's kind of where we want to go as our kids get older and things like that. And,
I think that's fabulous because I see like, on the talk.
Yeah.
And now that we've said it's going to show up in my feed now.
Yeah, 100%.
But I see a lot of these, like not what you see, well, not with like the 70s and 80s RV parks where like there's like a lot more of a like destination that it's not just like hook up and go to the bathroom kind of place.
Right. Yeah. There's more. And there is more and more of that. And that's kind of, but again, our lens is like small, community driven.
Yeah.
Like I said, through the lens of consciousness, it will attract a very specific person. And like I said, just thinking it like a resort, but you bring your own trailer. But, and like Derek at some point in time would like to have like land with like tiny houses or cabins or something like that. Again, under that same energy concept. So of bringing together conscious families who think differently, do things differently, conscious communities. Derek, more on the business side. It's interesting, Kim, that I'm not like, I don't see the business side of it yet. He does. He's like, we can host retreats at these places, right?
God,
and do like really cool stuff. So that's the vision. But again, I won't start with an Airstream, just because I want to get some experience with something that doesn't come with the price tag of an Airstream, but I know that's what I want at some point in time, right? So again, I was just playing around with the concept. And again, God didn't show it to me in the form of an Airstream. It's I spent the next 6 days reading a book about a woman who runs a food truck out of an Airstream. And I was like, okay, God, I get you. I get you. And to me, I always use it as reminders is exactly what you just said. It's not always going to look the way that you think it's going to look, but it doesn't mean you're not going to get what you want.
Right. And it's like, I think that's where so many of us get caught up, right? Like we are just like, it has to be these like, step by step. And if you think about like, for a lot of people, if we think about our lives, it's always been this kind of winding road, right?
Always.
And I mean, if you've had that step-by-step life, rock on with your bad self, but I always think about like, we always made that one decision that changed everything.
Of course.
But at the time, you didn't know that decision was going to change everything.
Right.
And it's like, and some of us can sometimes put so much emphasis on a decision, thinking that that's the decision that's going to change everything.
Right.
And it's, minor things that could be the decision that changes everything. Like you went left one day versus right.
And see, I think every decision changes. Like every decision does shape who you are. It's not one decision, it's all the decisions. And you get to decide over and over and over again. But again, going back to identity, I get to decide 1,000,000 times a day if I need to, that I'm going to be a healthy person.
Yeah.
And I know what the idea, but I get to choose again and again and again and again and again. And it's in, like you said, it's in the micro decisions. But that's the choice, right? People think it's the big decision. I have to choose whether I want to have a paleo diet or a carnivore diet, right? Like that's the decision they think they're weighing instead of the decision of, am I somebody who takes good care of themselves? Am I somebody who sees themselves as healthy? Am I somebody who sees myself as investing in my health, right? Like it starts so much further before the decision of what diet or what business strategy. Those are the questions I get. Which business strategy? I'm like, neither one is going to work as long as you think nobody wants to buy anything from you, right? Neither diet is going to work if you think you have a hard time losing weight.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter which one you choose.
And it's fun. And it's funny, as you said, it does come back to my identity will always tell me I'm not enough until I choose for it to not tell me.
Right. Well, because the identity that you currently have, like the identity that most people are operating from, is one of deficit, because it's one seeking approval. It's one that was given to us, right? My parents will, I'm a good girl if, right?
Yeah.
It's conditional, right? The most of us are programmed identity, if you will, right? I call it the operating system. Sometimes that helps people, right? Like when you think of like your iPhone and we update operating systems, we're running on an outdating operating system. But again, most of us, the operating system isn't one we chose, right? It was our parents' beliefs, society's beliefs, the industry's beliefs. Again, I'm a woman over, that lives in this part of the world, and they say this is more like, like they're not our own. So our operating systems are driving until we update the operating system.
Right. And you're absolutely right. Like it is an operating system, right?
Yeah.
And
the set of beliefs. Yeah.
For some women, for decades, you've been told this is how it has to work. Like I have to go to the gym for this many days, this many hours, food has to look like this. And if it doesn't look like that, it's shit.
Yep.
And so that for a lot of us, that leaves us chasing, right? Always chasing for the next rung on our invisible ladder.
Right. Again, oftentimes not one we chose.
Yeah. I also think it's like our identities are also sometimes self-inflicted. It's like
100%. They're self-enforced at some point in time. Yes.
Right. Because it's like I like going to the gym. I've always ate really healthy. So like whenever I go somewhere, they're like, "Oh, what's Kim eating?" And it's like, you know what? Like I can choose. Like I'm never gonna make anyone be like, you don't have whole grain eggs. Like I'm never going to be that person. I'm like, I'll figure it out. I'll make it happen. But there are people who like you also kind of people put that on themselves. Like, oh, everyone knows I eat healthy. So God forbid if I have a cupcake.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's always one side or the other. Again, unless it's self-chosen.
Yeah.
If it's the need for validation, whether the validation is the number on the scale or fitting in at happy hour, if you need the external validation for you to be okay, you're always going to feel like it's not enough.
And that, also translates to work. Like, I'm the person who always gets there before everyone else, or the last to leave, or, even if I'm, work is piled up all around me, I'll take on that other project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's all identity stuff. It's what I think I need to do in order to get what I want.
Right.
And most of us were taught that the things we needed to do to get what we want were not pleasant. Right. Yeah. It was going to require a lot of suffering and a lot of sacrifice and a lot of discipline. And so much so that exactly like you, it sounds like Kim, you don't suffer and sacrifice in order to eat healthy. Now we don't like you. It's easy for you, Kim. You don't understand. Right. It's easy for you. It's always so easy to say it's so easy to be an energetic match to more money when you've got $1 million in the bank. Right. Like, and it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, again, if you need the outside world to love you, like you, respect you, to change for you to be okay, you're always dead in the water. Because again, if it comes easy to you, we don't like you. If it doesn't come easy to you and you're overweight, you're fat and lazy, right? Like why? Maybe just get up off the couch and move a little more, right? Like that's the sort of shit. Well, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you need the outside world to be okay with you, right? When it's self-driven, I like who I am. Or even if it's, because some people might be like, but Ryan, I don't really like who I am right now. Like I hear what you're saying, but I don't really like who I am right now. It's like, well, I can at least accept who I am right now. I don't have to like her. We don't have to be besties, but we can accept that this version of us has been running an outdated operating system that we didn't actually choose. And we can accept that operating system led us here to today. And we can let ourselves off the hook a little bit where I didn't know. I didn't know I had a choice. I didn't know, that this information didn't make sense for a woman in her 40s and was built for a man at 25, right? Like I didn't know, but you at least have to accept it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And as I'm listening to you, I'm hoping that a lot of people are nodding along to our conversation. And, well, my VA, she just turned 40 and she's like, Kim, do you find yourself like your patience is just shot? And I said, well, that happened well before. Right. So if I'm at that age where like, I'm just starting to give zero fucks, right?
But like I said, I have a clarifying question to that. Is your patience shot because your nervous system is fried? And if the next person who asks you another question, you're going to bite their head off and chew it up and spit it out? Is very different from my give a fuck is broken, get to the end of the line. Those are two different energies.
Right. And I feel like, I've had both. I've had like, depending on where I am, depending who you are or what situation. But I've told her like my energy is like my fucks are gone. So it's like
None to give.
If it's something that I'm like, I don't want to do anymore, then I'm not going to raise my hand and do it. And I feel like some women don't have that like lever. Like they don't know how to just pull that lever and just be like, you know what? Yeah. Window closed.
Yeah.
But they want to get to that point where they're like, yeah, window's closed. Like we're closed for business for that particular thing. How do people, as we kind of start shifting our identity, how do we start starting to like start saying like, you know what? This isn't my lane anymore. I'm good.
No is a complete sentence.
Yeah, that was such a game changer for me when I found that out.
But more, I'll give you a little bit more because that's just going to frustrate you.
You're like, that's like telling me to calm down when I'm mad.
Yeah. It's understanding what are you getting out of saying yes, right? Because that's the thing, right? How do I stop giving a fuck? How do I stop caring what the outside world thinks? It's like you have to genuinely think like, why do I need the outside world to think or feel a certain way? Like it starts with the inner work. It starts with who do I believe myself to be? If I have a hard time saying no, I believe that I have to do things I don't want to do. I'm a victim. So we have to first stop pretending that we're victims. And that's uncomfortable because there's a lot of things in your life that has happened that you believe you would not have chosen. And I don't believe that you consciously chose them, but I believe you were an energetic match to them at the time. You didn't consciously choose to yo-yo diet for 20 years. Right? I understand that, but it was still a choice. Every time you joined Weight Watchers again, it was a choice. And until you own that it was a choice, though I was unaware there were different ones, it was still the one I made, you will have a hard time. So that's where we start with, how do I start saying no? Because again, the reason why you have a hard time saying no is because you need the validation. That's why people like you, Kim, who you're like, I just stopped giving a fuck because you are like, to you, it's like, if you don't like me, that's a you problem. To some people, they don't believe that. If you don't like me, it's a me problem. I did something wrong. I'm not good enough, right? You won't choose me. You won't like me. You won't, whatever. So that's where we have to start because that's why you give the fucks you give. You have to close that gap before you can stop giving a fuck. And what typically happens with age, they say the average age of an awakening in women is between the ages of 38 and 42. And I do believe it starts to, we now have enough data and evidence that, continuing to say yes to this, it actually isn't getting me any closer to where I want to go. Like we finally have enough data, enough evidence, and that's why it does tend to happen where you're like, why do I keep hanging out with these people, right? Like, why do I keep buying these things at the grocery store? Why do I keep paying for that gym membership I don't go to and then beat myself up over it? Like, why am I doing this to myself? But again, we have to first believe that the call is coming from inside the house.
Yeah, you're right. And, and I've had conversations with, on this podcast about, I need to be the good girl, right? Like I'm the roles that have been kind of foisted upon us. Like I'm the person who always hosts the holidays, even though you're done. You're like, I can't host another Thanksgiving if my life depends on it.
But again, it wasn't hoisted upon you. It was a choice.
Right. You could have said no the first time.
You could have said no the first time, or you, at the time you were like, no, but when I said yes, I really enjoyed it. Well, now I'm over it. Well, the first time you hosted out of obligation, you made a choice to do that. It wasn't hoisted upon you. And it was like, guys, the last 5 years hosting Christmas was truly magical. But the age that the kids are and the season of life that we're in, it's just a pressure and a tradition that our family can't uphold. Is somebody else open to hosting?
Yeah.
And if you choose not to do that and host because you don't want to, you have to own that you made that choice. And like I said, it pisses people off when I tell them that. Like, you choose to work with clients you don't like.
Yeah.
You choose to tell yourself you're going to work out tomorrow and then don't do it. And like I said, that's where the identity work starts. Like you have to, that's the gap. So going back to your question of like, how do I get more to that point of where I don't care anymore and I'm not as worried? It's, you've got to face whatever it is you think is going to happen, right? Whatever those insecurities you have. And this is, okay, we're burying this one in like almost an hour into this conversation. The problem that this causes for so many high achieving women is, again, that the call is coming from inside the house. So the judgment that you think you're going to get from the outside world is actually your own self-judgment.
Right.
So if you think, right, well, I can't just not give a fuck about this because then they won't like me. There's a part of you that thinks they would be right to not like you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like me either, right? If you think, they're going to call me fat if I wear this shirt. A part of you thinks, but they would be right to call me fat. I mean, I'm a size, whatever, right? Like the things that you think other people are going to judge you for are actually your own beliefs projected out.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
And
that's a
hurts.
kick in the shin. Yeah. That is a big kick in the shin. And you're right, because if you think about all of us, we all think, okay, someone is looking at me and judging me as harshly as I judge myself.
Right.
We go to the beach and you're like, someone's looking at my legs or my butt or whatever. Meanwhile, they're like, I'm just trying to make sure my kid doesn't drown. Like, I'm not looking at you at all.
You have an ass? Sorry.
Right. Like they don't care. I'm like, unless you're like doing something ridiculously crazy, they are not paying attention to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's such an interesting human dynamic, right? We're so worried about what other people think, but other people's thoughts about us are always going to mirror back our own thoughts about us. And again, so then people are like, oh, I'm just supposed to I don't care. And it's like, no, but you care what you think. Do you think you look, and still to this day, Derek corrects me on this, my boyfriend all the time. Like, I'll be like, babe, does this look okay? And he was like, Ryan, do you feel good?
Yeah.
Because if I tell you it looks okay, but you're going to be pulling on that shirt all night, it really doesn't matter what I think how it looks. Go put on something you're fucking comfortable in. And I'm like, thank you for the reminder, right? But it's like, and then his second question is, who are you trying to impress?
Right.
Like I live here, girl. Like I ain't going anywhere. Like, what do you? And so, and I was like, and then of course my response, because I know what you're thinking, you're like, but I want to look good when I leave the house. And it's like, no, you want to feel good when you leave the house. You don't want to look good. You want to feel good, because when you feel good, you vibrate at a different frequency. You have different experiences. And when you feel good, you can identify with the healthier version of you, right? When you feel good, you can say, you know what, today I'm not going to stop and get that ice cream cone on the way home because I feel really great and I'm going to take really good care of my body. And I know that ice cream cones are allowed, but today I'm going to skip it. Because I just feel great. And I'm going to go home instead, and I'm going to have some nice electrolytes, and I'm going to sit in a nice bathtub, and that's the way I'm going to take care of myself today. Right? Because that's what you want. We all think we want to look good naked, and it's like, no, really, you want to feel good naked. But you can feel good naked now.
Yeah, you can. I absolutely love that, because it's like right now I'm thinking, like, someone's sitting here, you've made it this far into the episode, and you're thinking like, oh shit, that's me. Like, where do they start?
To me, it starts with awareness, right? Step one, it's awareness. It's seeing that this is a choice, right? It's seeing that, okay, maybe something these women are like, this is bigger than a diet and exercise issue. This is a mindset issue. This is an identity issue. And I'm open to what that might look like. Like, that's what's so cool about this work, Kim. And I know you know this, like, you just have to crack the door. I am open to the idea. Like you said, I just had to see one purple flower. I just needed one purple, like, what a beautiful metaphor too, right? Of like, just had to grow through that. And especially because you live in a city, right? Like every now and again, a flower gets through those cracks where it shouldn't, right? That's all you need. So it starts with, maybe the way that I have been approaching this is not serving me. I want you to be mindful. Don't tell yourself you're doing it wrong. That's not helpful. And your great big, beautiful type A brain will tell me why I'm wrong. You will get defensive immediately. I know that about you. Don't do that. Don't tell yourself you're doing it wrong. Don't do it. Maybe the way that I've been doing this isn't serving me.
Yeah.
Maybe there is I'm curious, like, just curiosity is what we're going for here, guys. Just a little bit of wonder. I wonder if there might be a different way to approach this. Like, I wonder if there's a piece of the puzzle missing, and maybe it's not even missing. Maybe it's already on the table, right? You just haven't found exactly where it fits. Just open yourself up to the idea that it could look and be different than it currently is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the first step I'm going to give you. It starts with awareness. And then once you are aware, I want you to start paying attention to that voice in your head that tells you, this is just the way it is, or that voice in your head when you look in the mirror and oh, I'm gross, or whatever that looks like start being nice to yourself.
Yeah.
Instead of looking in the mirror and seeing your stretch marks, look in the mirror and see that tattoo on your shoulder that you really like.
Yeah.
Right? Like, instead of looking in the mirror and seeing the double chin, like, look in the mirror and see, like, oh, my shoulders look good, right? Like, start looking for things you like, right? Just like the reticular activating system is going to find you purple flowers, and it found me an Airstream in a book. If you start training your brain to start looking for the positives, you will start to slowly but surely change your energy towards the positive. What do I like about my body? What do I like about the clothes in my closet? What do I like about this workout? What do I like about, and maybe the only thing you like about your body is that it gets out of bed every morning, but that is the first place to start, right? Because you might be thinking, you're like, Ryan, I don't like shit about my body. I'm like, well, does it cart you around? Are the ears attached to that head listening to this right now? There's got to be something you like about that body, even if it's merely that your heart pumps without you having to tell it to. Like, be as ridiculous as you need to be, but you need to start softening the resistance. And then when you soften the resistance, you can start to make conscious choices. But that's why I say nervous system regulation is first, because until you get out of your current energy, your current program, your current frequency, until you can soften that, you can't change it.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. Because if I'm still in this like swirl,
Yep.
the swirl might stop, but eventually, if I keep going back to the thoughts, the swirl will spin right back up.
Right. We need to consciously choose. Like, again, and I use very literally a radio dial, right? Like, we know, I live in Kansas City, right? Like, I know and I started my career in radio. So I actually do know what all the radio stations are on the FM dial. Total nerd, right? But if you are listening to 106.5 and I am listening to 102.1, right? We are hearing the same words, but we're not tuned into the same frequency. We're listening to different music. And just because I'm not at 106.5 doesn't mean I don't believe there's music there. I believe Kim is there listening to music. I just can't hear the music because I'm tuned into 102.1.
Right.
Right. So that's where the softening has to be, to like, why am I holding on so tightly to 102.1? There's a lot of things about this frequency I don't really care for. I'm open to the idea that I can move myself up a little bit. Just a little bit to get a little closer to Kim, right? Kim likes to work out. Kim eats healthy. Kim talks kindly to her body. I want to do more. I can get a little close. Maybe not as good as Kim. Like, maybe I'm not ready to start passing up dessert, at date night just yet. But I can get my 10,000 steps every day if that's what Kim does, right? Like, how can I start like slowly but surely? Because we talked about this in the beginning of the conversation. We want to go from 102.1 to 106.5 in the next 30 days. And if we don't, I'm terrible, I'm awful, I suck, and I'm never going to get there. But you got to go from 102.1 to 102.3 to 102.4 to 102.7,
right.
That's the work. We work our way up. But we've got to loosen. That's why the question of where do I start is you have to loosen the resistance.
And then also be okay with, like, sometimes you're in that like fuzzy zone, right? Where it's just static. Right. And that static might last for a while. Like, there's not like this, like, linear progression, like
not even a little bit. Yeah.
Every 30 days, something is going to happen. It's like, growth happens. And, like we both talked about how it's random, like it's going to happen to you randomly. And then you're just going to sit back and just be like, oh shit.
Can I fine tune that a little bit? It's not random. It's exact. According to universal law, you just can't control it, right? So that's where the out of nowhere things come from. It feels random. It's not random. It's exact based on your identity and your energy. So it appears random because maybe you didn't, you were like, I haven't worked out in 3 weeks. How is the scale going down, right? It appears random, but only because it defies your story of working out equates to weight loss. Yeah. So that's when you're like, I took 3 weeks off from the gym and randomly dropped 6 pounds. It wasn't random. right? It was exact, but that was the story you associated with it. So
Right.
I think your energy behind what you said was energetically clear, but the word is important. It's not random. It's exact. It just happens out of nowhere because the control that you think that you have is non-existent.
Right. And you're right. And so like for many of us, we have to, until we get to that point, have to believe in random. Like we have to believe that like there's like we like, even though we let go of the belief, and instead of like holding it by the shoulders and
Yeah.
guiding it, we just said, we're just gonna let the world like show me what you got. And it showed me
Well,
what
see,
it
and
got.
the way that I define that is what I say to my clients is everything is always working out for me,
Yeah.
right? Oh, real estate deal 2 days from closing doesn't make it to the table, right? What do we typically make that mean? Oh my God, it's awful. No, it's working out for you. It's not the right deal, right? Same thing in the randomness, right? Like it's working out. Oh, the scale says that I gained weight. Okay, well, that's one data point, right? Everything's always working out for us. And so we know this data point isn't supporting us. So what are our other data points, right? Like we get to assign the meaning that we give it. So yes, if you can't believe that everything is orchestrated by universal law, you can at least borrow the belief of everything is working out for me. I just don't know how or why or what yet. But if I can make the assumption that it's gonna work out, then I can loosen the judgment of I didn't like the number on the scale this morning, or I was disappointed in myself for not making it to the gym, or I'm just sick and tired of feeling this way in my body. I can find compassion in a different way when it's like there's something here for me.
This is like the perfect place to like close this down, because you said something that I think is like the truth bomb. Loosen the judgment.
Yeah.
And so, when I asked you, I'm like, the identity place, like where could people can start?
Yeah.
And you said, just, start with awareness. The first place is like the awareness is of judgment.
Yes.
So it's like, where do you find yourself judging? And, even if you started a list of just where do you find yourself judging? And then from there, kind of say to yourself, what feels the easiest? Because I don't want you to start by like climbing Everest. That's hard. But it's like, could it be what you said? Like, could I lose judgment by like, I like wearing pink and I'm going to wear pink. Could it be like, I like wearing, sneakers all the time. Whatever it is, start with that little small thing and just kind of start snowballing. But the loosen the judgment, especially the self-judgment, because we are harsh critics compared to the rest of the world. Oh,
so much.
This has been like more than I wanted for an episode. Like it just like I was like, I didn't, I always thought every episode I'm like, I don't know where it's gonna go. And I'm like, this is my hopes for it. And then like blew past my hopes. And you guys literally follow her on TikTok. Like she says like in like, I don't know, her 90-second blurbs says some stuff that you're like, oh damn. And I hope that you have that same experience when you experience her. So I know you're on TikTok, but where else can people find you?
I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, right? So TikTok and Instagram, it's the same at Ryan Gillen Official. It's Ryan with 2 N's. You'll find me at Ryan Gillen on Facebook. And that's always a great place to start. I have a podcast as well called The Uncensored Self, where I talk so much about identity, again, through the lens of career and personal development, or, and professional development, or I work with high achieving women, but the crossover is so close that, I think you'd see a lot of value in it, but those are the best places. And then we do a lot of cool stuff. I do a lot of master classes and private podcasts and fun stuff. So it just kind of depends on when you find us, but social media is always a great place to start, and the podcast as well.
And you're right. Like, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show is that the saying is like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so it's like, business.
Because it's all driven by your identity.
Right. Business and fitness has so much crossover.
100%.
And
dating and money, it all crosses over.
Everything crosses over. And, a lot of times I bring, what for many of you guys seem like random. Like, why do you have this person on? Like, she's not a help. I'm like, because if you listen to her, you're like, oh shit, that's me. And that's the moments that I want you to have. And so,
of course,
this is an episode that I'm sure you're gonna have to listen to twice, and then you're gonna go down the rabbit hole of Ryan, because like if you're thinking I just need to try harder, like girls, like I say that all the time. It's not trying harder. We got to focus in on what hasn't worked and why hasn't it worked, right? And for many of you, it wasn't because you didn't double down. It was.
Yeah. Amen. It was not lack of effort. But I think and it's something I talk so much, and it makes sense why, we have this crossover. I talk so much to my women about that. Like, most advice, coaching, things in the world are for people who struggle with action, who struggle with motivation, who struggle with discipline. And I find that it's a whole different set of problems it's a whole different ball game when it's not those things, right? Like, it sounds like the women listening here, you guys don't have action problems. You don't have discipline problems. Like, you won't, you don't have any of that stuff, which is why most of what you hear in the world probably doesn't resonate. And Kim's message is so refreshing because it's built for the person who's like, no, I'm not the one who's sitting on my ass on the couch and hasn't worked out in 4 years and wonders why I'm overweight. I'm the one that works out 6 days a week and can't figure out why the scale won't move, right? Like, and it's a different conversation for sure.
Yeah, completely different conversation. So you guys, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. You guys know I always take notes, and I have so many great notes from this, so many great aha moments. And, please give Ryan a follow. I'll link all of her stuff in the show notes. And, like I said, how you do something is how you do everything. And so Amen. If, she's a business psychologist. So even if you're like, I don't have a business, no, you do something in the world that your mind is telling you yay or nay, or do it this way or not that way. She is your girl. Have a listen for her. And again, Ryan, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for asking me, Kim.
All right, Magic Makers, next week I'm going to be in your ear. So if you found anything interesting in this show, do me a favor, screenshot this and tag myself and Ryan on the social media street.
Thank you for listening to the Fit Girl Magic podcast. If you've made it this far, yay. I'm thinking you enjoyed the show. Let's continue the conversation on Instagram. You can find me at Kim Jefferson Coach. In order for me to keep sharing this message, do me a favor and leave me a 5-star review on iTunes. While you're there, don't forget to subscribe so that you won't miss an episode. New episodes are available every Wednesday. The Fit Girl Magic podcast is intended to provide you with tips, tools, and strategies that will help you make better decisions about your health. I really appreciate your feedback and your support. Thank you so much.